Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal Daly and I'm the Beauty and Brains Coach, where we talk about everything cosmetology related and I get you ready for your State Board test. If this is your first time seeing my face, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button and make sure you hit that little bell if you want to get notifications anytime I put videos out, because I've been getting real good at this video thing, guys. Like I've been okay, so last week we talked about the skeletal system, and this week we're going to talk about the muscular system. So it's almost like part 2 of anatomy and physiology for cosmetology. All right, guys, so let's get the party started about the muscular system. So again, last week we talked about the skeletal system and how the skeletal system was the framework of the body. Well, if the skeletal system is the framework of the body, the muscular system is going to hold this framework together. So by definition, the muscular system covers, shapes, and holds the skeletal system into place. Anytime I think about the word movement, I think muscular system. Movement would be impossible without the muscular system. The muscles are going to move by contracting on one another. So no muscle does two jobs. They can only pull in one direction. So if I think about my bicep, that muscle is only going to be able to pull so my forearm can go up. And then when I want to release my forearm, I have to use like my tricep. So two different muscles to get that same range of motion. And then the definition of myology is just a study of anything to do with the muscles or the diseases of muscles. Okay, so there are different types of muscles. We have our involuntary muscles or non-striated muscles. So these muscles live like in our digestive system. So if you think about, you eat a piece of food, that whole process of eating an apple and it going through your body, you don't think about that. You don't decide to process food. Your non-striated or involuntary muscles are going to cause that process to happen. Whereas with your striated muscles, those muscles are your voluntary muscles. So when I think about those muscles, those are the muscles found like in my legs or in my arms or in my hands. The way I organize this information in my brain, my striated muscles, when I see that word, for whatever reason, my brain says straight, says the word straight. And I think about it, my striated muscles keep me straight. So if I had to freeze up or brace up, I'm going to use my striated muscles, the voluntary muscles that I control, to keep me straight. My non-striated muscles cannot do that because they are involuntary. The last muscle tissue in the body is cardiac muscle, and all you need to know is that your heart is made out of a muscle. It's real fibrous tissue. One last fun fact about these different muscle tissue types: you can have striated muscle tissue and non-striated muscle tissue in the same area. So when you think about your eyeballs, you blink involuntarily all day long. Those are caused by non-striated muscles. But if something's in your eye and you're blinking to get it out of your eye, obviously you're using your striated muscles. So fun fact. Now we're going to get into the different parts of a muscle. So there are 3 parts of a muscle. You need to know all 3 of them. First, starting at the top, we have our origin. Our origin is the part of the muscle that is attached to the skeleton. This is also the part of the muscle that does not move. Then in the middle, we have the belly of the muscle. The belly of the muscle, if you think about it as a kid, your dad would say like, make a muscle. And when you make a muscle, that fat, squishy part or the meaty part of your muscle, that is the belly of the muscle. And then the last part of the muscle is the insertion. Now the insertion is attached the furthest away from the skeleton, and it's not directly attached to the surface of the skeleton. There's usually some type of other tissue or some type of fiber that attaches that muscle to either another muscle or a tendon. So when we're massaging, it's important that we massage from insertion to origin. So this means to me, I'm going to start the furthest away from the skeleton, work towards that belly, and then that pressure should be going towards the origin. Now, the way I remember this information is I'm always going to massage inside out. This is not actual directions for massaging. The word inside represents insertion and the word outside represents origin. So if I'm massaging inside out, I'm always massaging from insertion to origin. Okay, great. So now let's talk about, we're gonna work our way from top to bottom the same way we did with the skeletal system. Let's talk about the muscles of the scalp, head, and neck. I'm gonna start at the top. First, we have our epicranius. Our epicranius is just a covering that covers the cranium. There's gonna be 3 parts that you need to know for the epicranius. Starting in the back, on top of that occipital bone, the muscle is called the occipitalis. So this is the muscle that holds the scalp down and back. The muscle on top of the occipital is the occipitalis. In between, you see that white tissue, that's a tendon, and that is called the epicranial aponeurosis. It's just a piece of tissue that connects the occipitalis to this muscle that lives up here. And this muscle that lives up here, that lives on top of our frontal bone, it's called our frontalis. We're gonna move down to the muscles that we use for chewing. So if you look right by your ear, you almost see that strap of muscle, that's called our temporalis. So that's right by our temporal bone. It helps with chewing. So remember, muscles can only do one job. So one muscle has to open the hinges of your jaw, and then another muscle has to pull those closed. Next, if we feel right on top of our jaw or right on top of our mandible where that hinge is, there's a muscle right there that is called your masseter. And guys, if it's on the slide and I'm giving you definitions or tips and tricks for it, I would be writing it down. I would take a screenshot of this. I would write the things that I'm saying. If you work better with lists, if you work better with bubble mapping, where you just write concepts and ideas together, but I would definitely write this information down while you hit pause, write it down, rewind. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, please. Okay, let's get back at it. So we talked about our temporalis and we talked about our masseter. We have 2 more muscles neck. We have 2 more muscles left, and these muscles are found in our neck. They are important. So first we have our platysma. Our platysma helps if we are surprised or frightened, like, did you see how that muscle just pulled my chin down? That was my platysma. It is a broad muscle and it lowers your jaw and your chin. And it helps with surprise or fright or shock. And the next one is a banger. It is your sternocleidomastoideus. This muscle is responsible for rotating your head and neck around. So as a stylist, we do a lot of this motion: blow drying, cutting, highlighting, right? If you drop a comb and you have to bend over and rotate your head to go get it, they may ask you a question like that. If Crystal drops her comb and she has to rotate her head to go get it, what muscle is she using? What muscle is responsible for rotating the neck and the head around? And the answer is sternocleidomastoideus. Now, at some point in my career, maybe when I was in beauty school, this is how, maybe someone taught it to me, but I rotate my neck around to the syllables of that word as I say it over and over again, and you will never forget it. Promise. All right, great. So that is the muscles of your head and neck. Let's move on to the muscles of the face. Muscles of the face, muscles of the face, muscles of the face. Muscles of the face, muscles of the face, muscles of the face, muscles of the face. Please. So I hit the ones that I see that are most common. If you are looking at a textbook, you're going to see there are quite a bit of muscles in your face. Fortunately, as a cosmetologist, we don't need to know all of them. Just really, really pertinent ones that constantly come up in multiple theory exams, and those are the ones I'm going to hit for you today. Number one, we're going to talk about our frontalis. You guys already know what the frontalis is. It lives right here at the top of the eyebrows. It is the muscle that pulls your scalp down, and it lives on top of your frontal bone. Next, we have our corrugator. So, story time. When I was little, I thought I was slick one day, and I wanted to go hang out with my boyfriend, and he had a car, and it was like the first boyfriend that I had with a car, so I thought it was cool, and I was like, ooh, come get me. And yeah, it was probably a school night, and I came up with this whole story, and I told my mom, like, Mom, I have to go get a textbook for my friend. And my mother was like, yeah, you not about it. Do you see this time it is? I was like, oh, I need this textbook. So I came with this whole to-do that I was gonna go get this textbook from my friend. By the way, did not need a textbook. But anyway, I was gonna get this textbook, and my boyfriend was gonna take me. And I, like, once my mother seen it, I came home with this textbook. Like, I would be good, and everything was fine. Go get the textbook, ride around with the boyfriend, feeling super cool, super whatever. And then my mother comes outside with a brick in her hand, and she got this look on her face, y'all. And when I say the look on her face was like this, like this was the look on her face, like, girl, me I kill you. Yo, one for you. Like, my mother was about to kill. Yo, what do y'all know Caribbean parents don't be playing? Like, they don't play that shit, yo. All right, anyway. So, my mother's face was like this. Like that. Y'all see this muscle right there? Y'all see that muscle right there? She got a permanent, because we stressed her out. That muscle right there, my loves, is called your corrugator muscle. Your corrugator muscle makes you look like an intimidator when you use your corrugator. So when I say corrugator, I say corrugator. Your corrugator muscle draws the eyebrows down for frowning, and it wrinkles your eyebrows vertically. Not this muscle, y'all. This is your procyrus. This muscle, corrugator. We are going to move down to our eyeball muscles. All right, so number 3, we have our orbicularis oculi. So this is the muscle that allows you to close your eyes. So when I say orbicularis oculi, I begin to blink. Orbicularis oculi, orbicularis oculi, orbicularis. Almost like I'm casting a spell. Bippity boppity boop. But when I say orbicularis oculi, I blink my eyes over and over and over again and again. That body, mind, mental, muscle connection just helps that information stick a bit better. So it is orbicularis oculi. Orbicularis oculi, orbicularis oculi, orbicularis oculi, orbicularis oculi. So next we have number 4. Number 4 is our buccinator muscle. Our buccinator muscle is also known as our blowing muscle. So buccinator, blowing. Your buccinator muscle lives right in between your upper and lower jaw and right here in your cheek. It is responsible for blowing. We have for number 5, we have mentalis. Mentalis lives at the tip of your chin. It wrinkles your chin. It helps elevate that lower lip. If your boyfriend told you a lie, like, oh yeah, so you wasn't playing 2K all night, you gonna give him the thank your mentalis for being able to do that face. And lastly, we have our orbicularis oris. Our orbicularis oris is a flat, thin muscle found on the lips. So anytime you want to wrinkle your lips, anytime you want to blow a kiss, you're using your orbicularis oris. All right, so let's talk about our back muscles. So as a cosmetologist, you have two major muscles that you need to be aware of. We have our trapezius muscle and we have our latissimus dorsi. So let's first talk about our trapezius muscle. It starts at the top of your neck and goes toward the top and covers the top half of your back. When I see the word trapezius, I think of a trapeze artist being able to like swing. So anytime you raise your hands above your head, that is due to your trapezius muscle being able to raise your hands above your head. Next, we have our latissimus dorsi, and our latissimus dorsi is a large, flat back muscle that covers the lower half of your back. Being able to extend your arm out to your side is mainly due to your latissimus dorsi. Notice that I have like a picture of a dolphin. If you're into like fish or dolphins, this may make sense. But when I think of a dorsal fin being on the lower back or being on the back, and I hear latissimus dorsi, they like go together, the dorsal dorsi part. It's like a play on words. I'm sure it's not a play on words. I'm sure it's like legit Latin and it's a reason why it makes sense and it's a reason why they do that. We just don't have to go that far. We just don't. It's not brain surgery, not for real, not back surgery. All right, so let's talk about the muscles on the arm. First, we're going to start with our deltoid. Your deltoid is the muscle that covers your shoulder, and it's also responsible for helping you extend your arm out to the side. Next, we have our biceps. So if you're making a muscle, the biceps actually help lift the forearm. So anytime you make that motion to lift your forearm, your biceps are responsible. And then when you release your forearm or straighten your hand back out, those are your triceps. Let's talk about your forearm. So notice I don't really have these labeled because where they live at isn't so important, but more so like what they do and how they work together. So first we're gonna start off with our extensors and our flexors. So with our extensors are literally going to do that. They are responsible for extending our arms out in front of us. So if you're able to get your arms straight out in front of you, thank your extensors. When we talk about our flexors are the muscles. I am so tongue-tied today. Our extensors are the muscle. Extensors are the muscles that are responsible for us being able to flex our wrist. So this motion is due to our flexors. So extensors straighten the arms out, flexors flex the wrists. Fantastic. Next, we have pronators and supinators. So story time again. You know me and my stories. All right, so imagine you are in your Uber, you're like ride sharing with someone else and you are drinking a cup of soup and this person is coughing and sneezing and you're like, okay, bro, like do not cough by my soup. What are you going to do? You're going to protect your soup, right? So when we protect our soup, P for protect, we're going to pronate our hand to protect our soup. P in pronate, P in protect the soup. Pronate means to turn the palm of your hand inward. Being able to rotate your hand like this, you are pronating your arm. Protect the soup, right? All right, we still in this Uber, we driving, the man that got out. It's like, okay, I don't have to protect my soup anymore. I'm ready to drink my soup. But guess what? I do not have a spoon. How am I gonna drink my soup? What am I gonna do? We are going to supinate and scoop the soup. Scoop the soup. Pronate, protect the soup. Supinate, scoop the soup. My students, they like doing their like mock state boards and they are like in their mock state boards like, soup the soup, scoop the soup, poop the soup, scoop the soup, soup the soup. It's the soup one. I promise y'all, I promise. Scoop the soup. Okay, so now that we understand pronate and supinate, let's move on to the muscles in our fingers. So we have abductors and then we have adductors. So go ahead and write it down. Abductors is ABD. Abductors. And then we have adductors, ADD. So ABD and ADD. So when we talk about abductors, our abductors, ABD, is going to open our fingers up or take my fingers away from each other. These are the muscles that spread my fingers apart. So when I think about abduction, if you are a puppy abductor, you take away puppies from people, right? Whereas my adductor, so ADD, addition, add, those are the muscles that are going to bring these fingers together. ABD, ADD, ABD, ADD. Do, 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 do. Let's talk about the muscles found in the leg. Let's talk about the muscles found in the leg and foot. So if we look at 1 and 2, we have our peroneus longus and our peroneus brevis. When I see the word peroneus, I just think calf muscle. So the peroneus longus lives on the outside of the calf, and that muscle is responsible for turning that foot outward. The peroneus brevis lives on the lower surface of your fibula, and it's going to bend the foot down. So just some basic motion. If you're doing some joint work, if in a pedicure, what muscles are we using as we rotate this foot around? And where is that guest gonna feel that comfort? Or maybe if she's feeling some type of strain. If we look at number 3, we have our tibialis anterior. So this is the muscle that covers the shin, and it's going to bend the foot upward and inward. So just the word anterior means like in front of, so in front of your shin. It just kind of helps with that. All right, and then 4 and 5, we have our extensor digitorum longus and our extensor hallucis longus. And if you think about like wiggling your toes, like stretching out your toes really big and wiggling your big toe around, those are the muscles that are responsible for that movement. I'm like wiggling my toes as I say it. All right, and this is our last side. We have muscles of our feet. So if you think about the intricate movements of your foot, or if you've ever gotten a pedicure, you gotten a foot massage, and you can feel that manicurist, or you can feel that massage therapist get those pieces and parts of those muscles, or maybe you just had a long day and you had to rub your own feet. The muscles of your feet are kind of interesting. I actually learned this in preparing for this class, that the muscles of your feet aren't just like this one layer. They are actually like multiple layers that layer upon one another. It just kind of makes sense, because again, if you think about how our feet grasp the floor, we wear different kind of shoes, and I mean, we run and we jump. Notice, number 1, there isn't a muscle present. That is because the flexor digiti minimi, that muscle actually lives on a different layer than what I have photographed today. So imagine that there was a little sliver of muscle tissue that lived in between those 2 muscles, and that muscle would be called your flexor digiti minimi. And that is the muscle that's responsible for your pinky toe. And it just makes sense. It's digiti minimi. If all the toes had to be called a mini-me, it would be the pinky toe. That just, right? Then number 2, we have our flexor digitorum brevis, and that's the muscle that's responsible for the 3 toes in the middle. So again, if you think about walking and how your feet grasp the actual floor, this gives you balance while standing and walking. And then we have our abductors hallucis, and we have our abductor digiti minimi. And again, that just helps with that motion, because I see abductor or abduction, I'm able to like open my toes, right? Awesome. Well, that is all for our muscular system, friends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so anytime I have a video, you get it. Yeah, I love y'all. Bye. So I'm really feeling today's lighting, y'all, because this is not no ring light lighting. Like, this is just Ohio lighting, just popping. Good morning.